Howdy, folks. Welcome to the channel, Rockin' a Country. Part 4 of a 90-minute documentary. I broke down into 15-minute segments or so, just about. And it's a gift of funRonni. And funRonni, or Ronnie, is a huge Bill Anderson fan, as you might expect from this 90-minute documentary breakdown that I'm doing of Bill Anderson's career. This is fantastic stuff. So thank you for this gift, Ronnie. And let's get into part 4 of 6.
I'm good.
Hey, Rhonda.
I'll ask you this question. Did you find that you've maybe felt sometimes that somebody would say, if that's such a great song, why didn't he cut it?
Oh, yeah. I heard that. Yeah, I heard that a lot. And it probably at times kept me from getting songs recorded.
That has kept me from doing it. I've never pitched my songs to anybody else because I was always fearful of that response. Mm-hmm. If this is such a great song, yep, why don't you cut it?
Yep, I got that.
I know Lynn Anderson is here today.
Hi.
Your sister. Hi, Lynn. Thanks for being here.
Oh, you bet.
My grandmother.
Oh. Hey, look out now. Oh. Hey, we're getting in bad trouble here.
Sorry. we've kidded about that and
for
been
years.
kidded about it.
I've called him Grandpa, too, so he doesn't get away with it.
Well, what do you tell people when they ask you if we're...
I tell them we're kissing cousins, Bill.
Oh, okay. Works for me.
Yeah.
In some states, that's legal.
That is a little too country, isn't it?
A little too country.
Fun.
Lynn, where did you and Bill first cross paths?
You know what? I came to Nashville in the 60s. My mother got a recording contract, and she was a great songwriter, still is, Liz Anderson, and I was singing her songs. Bill Anderson had lots of songs on the radio done by a lady named Connie Smith. And we competed a lot. It was the Blondes. It was Dolly Parton, Barbara Mandrell, me, Connie Smith way back then. And boy, I was jealous of those Bill Anderson songs. I always loved what Connie Smith, and it was the dueling steel guitar players. She had Weldon Myrick and I had Lloyd Green. And I caught Lloyd in the office on a Saturday one day practicing the turnaround to I'll Come Running to You, trying to get that Weldon Myrick lick in there. So anyway, it was a challenge to try to keep up with the Joneses or the Andersons in this case.
You know, she was beautiful back
Well,
in the
I
day.
was
She's
I was
still
in
very
this,
pretty.
all
What a
those great
smile.
songs your mom wrote too, because boy, she wrote some great ones.
Yeah.
The only thing I can count on now is my fingers. Goodness gracious. What
From now on, all my friends are going to be strangers. Well, when I grew up, that's what we listened to in our house. We had songwriter albums. We had Bill Anderson's albums.
You're the one.
That's me. I bought one. Our mama bought one and would listen and study the way you wrote. You know, study just exactly how you crafted your songs because you were an expert. We had Willie Nelson's albums before Willie Nelson was a star. We'd have Roger Miller's albums, and we'd study that music and how it was crafted, how those words and music were put together to make a great country song. So, you've been a mentor, baby doll.
I didn't know that.
Hey, Lynn, did Lloyd play on all your records?
Pretty much, yeah.
You know, it's I'm one that loves to stick up and root for the musicians, because I always felt like that it was like with your records or with Weldon playing on Connie's or John Huey playing on Conway Twitty's records. Those records were defined long before any of us ever opened our mouths and sang a note. Everybody knew what song that was by what the musicians would get us started and lift us up for a great place to start. And I
totally agree. I feel like actually Lloyd Green should have gotten credit for being producer on my records, those early chart records that I'm talking about, because it was he and the musicians in the studio that crafted that Nashville sound. It was all the pickers. You know, they got in there and woodshedded, and one of them would pick a little bit, and somebody'd say, "Yeah, that sounds good with this," and it was the musicians that would create those records.
I got to pause because it makes sense if Vince would look at it through this angle, because I've said this in other videos. If you hadn't seen it, fine. I'll just say it again here. But Eric Clapton, every 2 years, every other year, hosts a festival of who he considers to be the industry's best guitar players. And it isn't just about jamming and going crazy. It's about feel. Vince got a call one day from Eric. And I think initially he didn't believe it. I may have done a reaction to it, in fact, a year or two ago on the channel here, where when he got the invitation from Eric, it immediately, Vince was like, when am I supposed to be there? Like, he couldn't believe Eric Clapton, the Eric Clapton, was calling him. But what Eric said to Vince was that you're a guitar player first. He said, I've listened to your music. You are a guitar player first. Your vocals, they're good and all that stuff. And Vince said, I couldn't believe that Eric knew that because I always considered myself a guitar player. Not only does he play guitar, but he doesn't consider himself necessarily, firstly, a front man or whatever. So here, when he's talking about giving credit to the musicians, it makes a lot of sense because that really is Vince's orientation.
Sonny Garish did an awful lot of that on my records,
There you
especially
go.
my up-tempo records, where he would play a lot of the little fast picking stuff. He was so good at it.
Well, it was as a student of all of that. When I started making records and starting to have some success, I ran to John Huey because I loved the way he played, and he's no longer with us. But to me, he gave my music a definition. He gave it a sound, not unlike Don Rich did with Buck, and and Ralph Mooney did with the records he played on, and all those different musicians.
Let me tell you an interesting comment that I heard a few years ago. A friend of mine was driving her kids somewhere and had the radio on. And the little boy at that time was about 12 years old. Little girl was about 8. And the little girl was in the back seat, and they had music on the radio. And all of a sudden, Mother realized she didn't really know what kind of music her kids liked. And so she turned the radio down. She said, turned to her son, she said, what kind of music do you like? He said, well, I like all kinds of music. I like rock and roll. I was kind of at that age, And she said, the little girl in the back said, what kind of music do you like? She said, well, I like country music, but I don't understand, why do they all use the same band? Think about that a minute. There's some wisdom there, because where are the Don Riches? Where are the Lloyd Greens, the John Hueys, the Sonny Garishes, the people that made that? And I'm not taking anything away from the players today, because there's some wonderful players here, but I don't know that you get that distinct. I mean, you heard so many of those records from the intro. You knew who was going to be singing.
True. I think a lot of that does not necessarily lie in the fault of the musician, but more in the fault of the producer.
Yeah.
The fault of the record-making process of making it such that it has some definition, some calling card, if you will.
Got a great record producer sitting right there, Buddy Cannon.
Larry Butler's back
Larry
there,
Butler.
and Buddy Cannon right here.
I said I thought that was Buddy Cannon.
Produced great records.
I wanted to say something about Bill and from a producer's viewpoint. When we went in the studio to record, if you go in the studio with a good song, you're going to cut a good record. If you go in the studio with a great song, you're going to cut a great record. And so many times through the years, I would call Bill and I'd say, I really want a killer song for this artist. The first time this happened was with one of my favorite artists I've ever worked with, and that's Gene Shepard. We had top 5s, we'd had top 10s, we had,
Top 100s.
Yeah, top 100. But
Come in with a parachute.
so I left the label. Went to another label, and I called Gene. I said, let's do it again. She said, all right, let's do it. And I called Bill. I said, Bill, this is one of the most important projects to me I've ever done. I want this lady to have a hit record. He said, let me think about it. 2 or 3 days later, he walked to my office and played me the demo of Slipping Away. And I said, there it is. There's the song.
That's
now,
not what you told me, Larry.
well, it's his day, and I'm trying to make it sound But I'm going to say this, and I'm going to shut up. Why has Bill been around so long? Why has he done this incredible thing with his writing? Every 10 years, he's had a #1 record for 5 decades. Nobody's ever done that before. Nobody. No writer. And I tell you what I believe it is. The product, the things that all of us in this room do are not necessary. We're not selling cars or houses or shoes or food. It's a luxury item.
Yeah.
For people to want it, it has to touch them. When they're in their car going to pick up their kid from school, they hear the low volume radio, they hear something that cheers them up. The next time they hear it, they're singing along with it. The next time they hear it, they know the song. Well, those are the kind of songs that man writes. The songs that touch people. And if you don't make your audience laugh or cry, you're not making music, you're making noise. And I am so proud of Bill. I'm proud to be his friend. And one of these days, I'll tell him a story about San Diego.
Wait a while on that one.
Oh, you got it.
please.
All right.
Thank you. That's very nice.
Well, Larry, don't you agree that the real impetus behind a great record producer is to know a great song?
Oh, Vince, to me, that's what it's all about. I think, again, I was doing an interview one time with Associated Press, and they said, how important is the song? And I said what I did a while ago. If I go in with a good song, it'll be a good record. If I go in with a great song, it'll be a great record. And another thing, we were talking about the value of the musicians. I never have walked in the studio as a dictator.
Sure.
I walk in the studio with a song, and Jimmy Capps has played on most of the records I made.
Sure.
I'd play them the song and leave them alone. I'd go make a phone call or something and get something cold to drink or whatever. Stay away about, 30 minutes? I'd come back in the room, Jimmy say, how about this? Billy Sanford, what about this? I've always believed that producing a record is not a dictator. I think it's a melting pot of emotions from everybody in the room.
There you go.
Facilitator.
I remember some of the best advice I got when I first started wanting to produce some records was I talked to Fred Foster and he gave me two pieces of advice. He said, great songs will play themselves. He said, the other thing is, he said, understand your job. He said, when you look at great art, you don't notice the frame. He said, just go in there and frame the picture. And that's,
Well, he's one of the best.
yep.
It's awesome.
He was a great songman.
Really.
Vince, I've always said that one of the biggest rules a producer needs to learn is when not to.
Yeah, amen. I
Think
they
about
should, I always think they should call them
Yeah.
reducers instead of producers. It's all about editing. Gene,
Well,
Yeah.
I wanted to say something about Bill as a writer, too, that I've noticed. No wonder he knows how to write lyrics that touch people, because Bill Anderson listens. Has anyone else ever noticed when you're talking to Bill Anderson, he is listening
Yeah.
to what
What'd
you
you say?
say and how you say it, and he'll ask you, well, do you think or did you feel like he's picking your brain and your heart at the same time, but he listens to you when you talk to him, I think, as much as anybody I've ever been around. And then I think that's how he knows what's going to hit you. He has written, I think, some of the most hard-driving lines to me. I used to always think my favorite all-time line was, there's so much more between us than this table. I mean, what else?
Yeah.
How else can you say that any better and let somebody know what you mean to them?
that's why he does such a great job moderating these family reunions
Yes.
that we've had for all these years, and it's the logical choice, you know.
That's
Cheryl?
the one thing I've noticed about Bill from years ago when we first met him and started being at the Opry, and he was the host of Opry Backstage. He did his homework. A lot of times you could go on a show and you could be asked to talk about the same things. Never with Bill. Never with Bill. You've always come prepared to find out what's the new thing, what's going on, or, you know, pick your brain or your heart. He's not afraid to do that. And we've had some of our most touching moments with questions he's asked us. It's made us have to think and dig in there.
What a nice
There
thing
you
for you
go.
to say. Thank you.
Well, I remember the first
Yeah.
time I met you, and I was scared to death because it had gotten out that I did an impersonation of him.
Oh, really?
Makes sense, Vince. We do that.
Whispering Gill. But no, I had it on my codaphone for a long time, and you'd call me up, and hello, it's Whispering Bill Anderson. You know, and he found out about it, and I just started to turn up at the Opry, and I hadn't met Bill yet. And he's at one end of the hall, and I just came in, and I said, oh, crap, here he comes. And he's walking towards me, and he's got some step going, you know, and he's walking right towards me. And I'm going, oh, I don't have a hallway where I can cut out of here, you know. He walks up to me right away, and he goes, all right, Gil. He says, do me.
That's great.
So the pressure was on, and I said, all right, I'm Whispering Bill Anderson, and I wrote City Lights. That should be enough. And we've been fast friends ever since.
You know, people ask me about that because half the people in this room do impersonations of me. I take it as a great compliment.
As you should.
I really do it.
Right.
You know, in the very beginning,
Yep.
when they first started calling me Whispering Bill and everything, I thought, well, they're making fun of me. It kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. But I came to realize later on that Ferlin Husky told me something that really changed my mind. He said, number one, he said, because he was one of the first people to impersonate me on stage. And he said, I can tell it bothers you. He said, let me just tell you something. He said, number one, if you weren't different, there wouldn't be anything to imitate. And then he said, if I didn't like you, I wouldn't give you the publicity. So it kind of changed my feeling about that. And Bill Anderson is such a common name that the little Whispering Bill thing has kind of served me well. I didn't have to change my name to Conway Twitty or anything. I just kept it where it was.
You know, I had someone tell me once that, you know, that was the reason. It's interesting that I would find that it would fire you up just a little bit and hurt your feelings and all that, because I always felt like somebody told me that, a doctor, he said that's the reason you've done well. It's because you've got that fire in you, and things like that get to you and things like that, you know, so.
It's been a long time since it bothered me.
Well, good.
Oh, that's a good point to stop this segment. That was good. That went fast, Renee. Ronnie, I didn't even want to stop this one. But, I mean, I'm going to break them down so they're, well, more than bite-sized morsels. But still, that was hilarious. And in a room like that, they're all feeding off of one another. You know, Larry Butler talks about the production process, and that gets Jeannie thinking about it, and she brings out a certain perspective. And that gets the other one, Cheryl White, going, and, you know, what it is that they love about Bill and all that. But I love the listening part, that he listens. I learned to listen, I don't know, 20 years ago or so, and 30, I started to realize that, one, I know what my thoughts are because I'm always thinking anyway, and I'm thinking about what I'm thinking about and all. I want to hear other perspectives about life. I want to hear what's going on. I want to get, I was a philosophy major in school. I love multiple perspectives of things to see if there's like a more rational point of view or better point of view, or one that'll make you happier, one that'll make you sadder, whatever. And just look at the various ideas. And that's where I say thinkers, really, everybody's a philosopher in their own right. Some just like to go deeper than others and penetrate the heart. Like Shoutout Wright was talking about Bill. When you're with him, he's listening. I think Jeannie said that. There's a joy in hearing where others are coming from because you don't have to do the work. You don't have to think it up yourself. You can't anyway. You can't think all these things. So, and it validates another person. And so you just have greater joy in the moment. So that table becomes smaller between you. All right. funRonni, that was fun. Absolutely. I actually had tears. I was laughing at a certain point. I'm like, I've got to wipe my eyes here. So, all right, folks. I'll see you on episode 5. I have no doubt about it. If you made it through this one, I know you're going to want to see 5. So there it goes. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you on another video and keep rocking the country.
Well, I wanted to say something about Bill as a writer, too, that I've noticed. No wonder he knows how to write lyrics that touch people, because Bill Anderson listens.